Viewing audience from the World Wide Web, and as a special gift, we give to Facebook, where anyone can tune into a Sunday celebration service. We know that nothing happens by chance, that we're all here by divine appointment. When we really get that divine appointment, and we listen to the call, that call of God, whatever we conceive our God to be, whatever name we put on it, Yahweh, Jehovah, Buddha, Atman, it doesn't matter, Allah. The energy is within us. It is greater than that which resides in the world of appearances, conditions, and effects. This is the relative world out here. And I say this, whenever you refer to that as the real world, you are doing yourself such a disservice. Out there is not the real world. Because I hear people say, well, in the real world. I said, well, I don't live in that real world. I live in this real world, within the secret place of the Most High, the energy of the heart center. That is the relative world. It is the temporary world. It is filled with appearances that they don't mean anything. We put life and meaning into them, to conditions and to the effects of cause. And those are secondary causes many times that we place in mind. But the real world, the world within us, the world of Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the holy I am, the real world within us that can walk among us and not buy into the outer things, that holds that perfect peace, no matter what is going on in the outer world. There I am in perfect peace. My mind is stayed on thee. My mind is stayed on what is working. My life is affirmed by that energy. And I and my Father, Mother, God are one. And what that means is I and the energy of the universe, I tap into it. There is a oneness there. And that as I begin to feel that oneness, I am not deterred nor distracted by the outer things. Now, one of my favorite things to do is wherever I go, besides finding high tea, I like the labyrinth. The labyrinth speaks to me. A labyrinth looks like a maze, but a maze is something you get lost in, right? A labyrinth is something you find yourself in because it has all this circuity. And as the circuits go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, energetically it comes to the center. So you're going around the labyrinth and you're making these amazing circles, and finally, through it all, you come to the center. And I always like to establish an intention when I walk the labyrinth, because I really feel that life is a labyrinth. That we go through the daily round, which the ancient Hindi said, that's samsara, the daily round. Getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, having breakfast, going to work, doing what you do, coming home in the evening, the daily round. But there is a very fine line between the daily round, samsara, and nirvana, which is the highest heavenly state that we can attain to while we are here on the planet. It is heaven on earth, realized. And to take the routines of work and transform them into celebrations of life and love. To acknowledge, today we're talking about the spirit of life. The spirit of life that is within us. The spirit that goes before us and prepares the way. The energy that is ever present. And it's interesting, a friend of mine said that she was in San Francisco, and at Grace Cathedral there is a beautiful labyrinth in San Francisco. It's right up on Nob Hill. It is so gorgeous. And you go in there, and she said, I traveled from Maui to get to it because I became so interested in the labyrinth and walking the labyrinth and being in meditation as I went through all the circuits and in and out and finally reached the center. And I noticed that as I was walking the labyrinth and I took off my shoes and I'm in the sacred space and I'm feeling the energy of it all, and I'm just wanting the spiritual experience so deeply that someone just walked right in her shoes, in her stuff, and walked right over the labyrinth that I was walking. And I just looked at it and I thought, oh, how disrespectful. Here I'm being spiritual and I'm in the labyrinth, and she just walks right through and dishonors the space. And she said, where else do I do that in my life? Where else do I judge outside of myself? Where else do I look and I see that people aren't doing it right in the way that I think that they should be? So the Labyrinth, and there is one in Wellness Park. The Labyrinth is a wonderful way to get in touch with what is going on with us. And I love that. It's a really small one in Wellness Park. So those of you who get impatient, you want to get to the center, it doesn't take that long. It's a smaller one. So if you need to take it in steps, the one at Grace Cathedral is huge. And you really go through that circuitry. And we really get to see ourselves and the spirit of life that we give to life, where we do judge that it no longer serves us, just allowing things to be what they are and to be what they are not, and the opportunity that we have to be in the world, but not of it. And when we get that, we don't have to react to the things outside of us. We can act in a way that serves us in peace and the spirit of life and the spirit of adventure. Joseph Campbell said, say yes to life. Say yes to the adventure of life. And he gave the analogy of when he used to wait for his wife, Jean. And he said, I was in New York, we'd wait for lunch, and she was always 20 minutes late, and it used to drive me nuts. And he said, I would just, be looking at my clock, and finally she would get there, and I would, talk for 20 minutes about she was late, and, we got there, and I would just ruin my whole experience of it. And then one day my friend Alan Watts said, wow, what a great experience. If you can count on her being 20 minutes late, observe everybody in the energy field. Get a sense of oneness. Get a sense of the energy of where you're at. You're creating your own reality, Joseph. And he said, so I met her for lunch, and she wasn't there, and I began to observe everybody. And I saw the little child at the table, and I saw the mother that was being very loving, and I saw, couples that were, you could see they were in an intimate conversation, and I got a sense of the oneness in this restaurant and the energy of it. And when she got there, 20 minutes late, I said, oh, is it 20 minutes? Is it, oh my gosh. He said, the next time I was into the oneness, she was only 15 minutes late. It went by so fast. Then 10 minutes late. I was so into it and took the energy off of being so upset about her being late that she started being on time. It was no longer an issue. Just notice when we take the energy off of something, it disappears in the natural process of life itself. And when it disappears, because we're the obstacle, it's our energy that's serving as the obstacle because we think it should be a certain way. And we are all this way. It doesn't fit our pictures. And when it doesn't fit our pictures, it's because the universe wants us to look at it in a new way, a new opportunity that we have. And we understand the labyrinth of our life, that we're all reaching the center. And my friend who went to Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, who lives in Maui, a friend of ours said, hey, you could have gone a few blocks down to St. John's in Maui. They've got a great, wonderful labyrinth in the parking lot. She said, well, I wouldn't have gotten it. I had to travel 2,500 miles to San Francisco to have that experience. And who wants to walk a labyrinth in a parking lot? And she said she went to the parking lot. She walked the labyrinth and she said, I absolutely was reminded that life is a parking lot. It doesn't matter where we are. It's that energy of sacredness that we are carrying with us. It was like Moses always knew the manna was going to be there. As he opened to it, there it was every day. As he tapped the rock, the waters came fluently, energetically. That when we have the faith as a grain of mustard seed, the manna is always going to be there for us. It's up to us to open to that manna, that holiness, the spirit of life, and in our interactions. And she said, when I was walking the labyrinth, she said, I invited my husband and I went in first. And then I realized, ooh, I went in first. That feels a little uncomfortable. And as I was walking the labyrinth, I thought, I've had books published. I've done a lot. My projects are reaching great success, and at this moment, my husband's aren't. So I felt like, ooh, maybe I should play myself down. Look it. Don't ever, ever, ever play small for somebody else's ego. Do you know what I'm saying? When someone loves you, your success makes theirs possible. I am so happy for you and your success as if it was mine. completely. I think it is fantastic when people, they're good. And we have our wonderful Ted Telford, who published People of the Bear Mother, and it's won 3 awards. I'm not jealous of Ted because my book that I've been writing for 20 years isn't published yet. Just wait till when it is. Right? I'm so happy for him as if it has happened for me. And I think when we're really happy for people, it creates a space for us. Instead of looking at our watch, where are you? And I'm just really pissed off that you're late and just ruining my whole lunchtime. And saying, hey, oh, look at the child there. Oh, and look at that loving mother and that loving partners that are in a deep conversation. You can see they're really into each other and what they're talking about. All the energy that life has just in a restaurant. The servers that are so kind and so loving and want to do the right thing. I was at the Tuscan Grill the other day, and Ulysses is my server there, and he's always so loving and he's always so conscientious. And I said, you know what? You're a prince among men. And he said, oh, can I kiss you? And I said, by all means. I love to be kissed by young, handsome men. Absolutely. But to see everything, to have every experience that we have, the spirit of life is realizing that we're all part of each other. That being part of each other is recognizing that oneness. And that what happens to one on some level happens to all. That we're all walking the labyrinth in our own way. And that people are going by us in the labyrinth. But we are eventually going to reach the center because that is our goal. And that goal opens. When I was in New York with Barry and he was lecturing at the Culinary Institute, which he is a board member, and a former board member, and he was part of the staff and did a lot there, and he did this wonderful lecture on starting a business. And it's not what you think. Starting a restaurant, you see all of the outer, but there is a foundation just as there is in the spiritual life. That there is a sacred responsibility to meditate, to go within, to practice the principles of successful living rather than buying into the economy, or maybe you're late for a bill or whatever, because eventually it's all going to work out. And I loved in that great movie, and I just adored it. It was the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, and the little manager in there, he would say, it's all going to work out in the end, and if it doesn't, it's not the end. Okay, good thought, right? If it doesn't, it's not the end. So when we get that it's all part of the energy, that it's all part of an unfoldment, then we begin to relax and breathe into the energy field and allow ourselves to know it is all working out. My manicurist said that she sat there with no business and she said, all right, God, I just open the space for business. And I know you're going to just bring in who needs to be here. And she said all day long, people walked in. Can you create space for? She said, I had to turn people away. I said, well, you need to be more specific. Dear God, bring me business, but make it by appointment. I said, you can be specific. Yeah, you can be specific. So yesterday, she said it was just crazy. I said, no, it wasn't. It's what you prayed for. Thank God it's what you prayed for. It's not crazy. It's all in alignment for what you put out into the universe. So we have to, if we're going to be into the spirit of life and putting out there all the wonderful things that we want to experience, we better be ready for it. Because the universe has 2 great big ears, and guess what? Always says yes. So when we're just putting it out there about, whatever, and I say be very conscious about what you're putting it out there, because I hear people say, oh, they're a pain in the neck, or the pain in the back, or other places of anatomy. And I said, be very, very careful. That's a prayer. The universe is going to hear you. And you're going to be just that wonderful receptive place to have that happen. So we need to just be very conscious of what we're putting out into the universe. I don't care how sophisticated we are, how many degrees we are, how metaphysical and spiritual we think we are. The universe is responding to each and every one of us in kind to the energy that we're putting out into the universe. So as we have the spiritual practice, and some of us have been doing this for years, I've been doing this for over 45 years, that I'm here to grow and unfold and to always be learning. As long as we're here to learn and to unfold, to recognize that the physicist, quantum physics, is, yes, that there is a God particle within all life and energy, that everything is God. There is no spot where God is not, Ernest Holmes said. When we get that, we realize that even the profane becomes sacred. So when we were at the Culinary Institute, Barry said, and perhaps, Dr. Stroud would like to come up and add to what I've said. I thought, great, I've always wanted to speak at the Culinary Institute, and or wherever I'm called, right? I said, wonderful. I just want to say to you students, it's not only your business practices and what you put into place. What is the energy you're bringing to the table? That is going to make or break you. What is the energy you're bringing to the table? And through that energy, if you can really find that place inside you that loves what you do and do what you love, that's the spirit of life. That's a spirit that everyone is going to respond to energetically. And when we feel that energy and we respond, we go back to places because of what? The people. On Thanksgiving Eve, it was so wonderful. I opened the space for the open moment for people to share what they're most grateful for. And everyone, it was about relationships. It was about their loved ones and my family. It's about relationships. Life is about relationships. And when we get it, that oneness moves beyond all of our differences, that we're gathered together through our similarities. We grow through our differences. And when we get that, then we can live and let live. It doesn't mean that we're going to agree with everybody. I don't agree with everybody, but I allow them the space to feel the way they need to feel. And there are certain people in our lives that we're complete, we're done. We learn what we need to learn. We bless them on their way. Go with God, but by all means go. Yes. We know that. We know that feeling. And that's all right, because we've done our work. We've learned. I bless you on your way. And I open the space for what's next, because on the horizon are people, places, and things. On the horizon is a whole new energy level. So we're at the center of the labyrinth. We're opening to the space to allow God to do what God does best, that our intention is made manifest. And the spirit of life is being in that restaurant and feeling at one, so that we're not blocking energy. We're feeling the energy of light penetrating anything unlike itself. That's why I love our way of life. I wouldn't be in any other way of life. And let me tell you, it mirrors back to us very quickly where we need to grow and where we need to extend love and compassion, especially the intolerant. You see, I believe in the separation of church and hate. I believe that we are all one, regardless of color, race, creed, or sexual orientation. We are all one. Do you believe that? Do you feel that? And you know that. And that in this energy field, we're about oneness and aliveness. We're about embracing the truth within each of us. We're about joy, which is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. And that's why I love our way of life and the opportunity to keep growing, to keep unfolding, and to keep being who we are. So today, I am so grateful to be here with you and to feel your love and your energy and to know that I would not be anywhere else. I just love you. I love what I do what I love, and there's no greater combination in life than that. And I have a life that's totally lived in. And when you have a life that's lived in, you just keep opening and you keep saying yes. And that's what makes the difference. God bless you. I love you. And we are going where? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is.